Benjamin Todd Jealous, that's his government name, is seeking to become Maryland's 63rd governor. In full disclosure, I've known Ben since college, and Ben, I seem to remember you taking over a few buildings as a student. And now you are attempting to take over the Annapolis State House. At least you're consistent. In all seriousness, though, thank you for joining us. We know that the campaign trail is busy and that your life doesn't stop, so we just want to thank you off the bat for that.
No, thank you. No, I mean, you're a dear friend, and I'm just happy to be here for this time with you.
Thank you. So first off, how is your race going? What's the state of your race right now, from your perspective as the candidate?
Well, it's twofold. On the one hand, one of the front runners just passed away suddenly. His name was Kevin Cameron. He's a Baltimore County exec. We just put him in the ground today, and
Wow.
He passed away 2 days ago. So for us, we've kind of taken a time off from campaigning in the state and are just all sort of adjusting to the new reality. On the other hand, we've been in this for hundreds of days now, and what we're seeing in the field as we travel around the country is that we're succeeding in building a movement across the state, and it's exciting. We're tied for first in this race. We have been for months. It's going to be a very intense race right down to the very end. Like I said, today, just feeling a bit melancholy as we all process the loss of one of the other front runners. He's a very good man, and who, like so many of us who are raising kids in this race, I mean, I think, Amar, something like 6 of the 9 candidates are raising kids. He was telling his sons and his wife, oh, this will be over soon, and we can finally get back to having more time together as a family. Just to know that they're not going to get that time with him is painful for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're certainly sorry for his loss and the loss of his family.
Yep.
That's always something to remember, that at the end of the day, people are human, and more than
Yes.
politics, our humanity always connects us.
Yes.
But one of the things I'm curious about is you're a first-time progressive candidate,
Yep.
and you're running at a time of also extreme backlash across
Yep.
the country and across the board. What do you think is behind, as you're saying, I'm across the state and we're putting together a movement. This isn't only a campaign,
Yeah.
This is a movement. So as this is a movement, what do you think is behind the resurgence of progressivism at this stage of extreme backlash?
It's the same thing that makes it possible for Donald Trump to divide people. That same context makes it easier for us to bring people together. Because in times like this, when working families are stressed out across a region or a country, or in our case, a state, Donald Trump plays from an old playbook of divide and conquer. You pick scapegoats, whether it's the trans community or the Muslim community or people coming across our southern border, and then you divide the people against each other. Well, in times like that, it's actually also easier to pull people together because they're all suffering from the same frustration, whether it's mass incarceration or massive student debt or the lack of access to affordable health care, jobs. And so we brought the antidote to that sort of hate and division, which is a focus on the kitchen table issues that really unite people. And then as you pull them closer together, of course, to double down on the civil rights protections that make it easier for us to all stay together.
One of the things that's really important about your history, I always tell people this, even before you were at NAACP, one of your first jobs out of college was organizing in Mississippi around civil rights. And I always tell people that Ben Jealous was Black Lives Matter before Black Lives Matter. And one of the things that's interesting is, as an arc, is that you have moved from. This is a moment of activism. Last week we spoke to Margaret Wong, who is the head of international, and she said that one of the things that is driving her at this moment to be really excited and hopeful is activism. You started out your career in activism, and you're moving into one of politics. But interestingly enough, politics is often a realm that activists sort of wave off of and eschew. But somehow you are making a link between the two. Can you talk a little bit about that? For you, what's the necessity of politics and activism?
You know, the baby boomer generation created a whole sort of nonprofit array of organizations that took people who in previous generations would have been in politics and put them kind of to the side in this apolitical universe of charitable organizations. My inspiration has always come from the first generation out of slavery. And for them, they kind of did everything. You know, my grandmother's grandfather was born a slave. He died having served as a state senator, co-founded Virginia State University. He was a farmer. He was a businessman. And he sort of did everything. For him, he kept his eye on the prize of greater freedom and prosperity for all of us. And then, like water, tried to find the fastest way towards the goal. And I think that for us, who are Generation X and the generations below us, we're just much more inclined to see the world through a lens of fusion, kind of all of the above. I don't have to be a nonprofit person or a political person or a business person. I can be all of those.
Yep. And sort of as we begin to wind down this interview, one of my questions for you is slightly more practical, and that is say, what's the first thing that you would do as governor, and who do you think it would make happy, and who do you think it would anger?
You know, the first thing I'll do as governor is to present a budget that fully funds education. My mom sued Western High School for Girls, an elite all-girls public high school in Baltimore, when she was 12, so she could desegregate it when she was 15. And we've known, at least since then, that until we fully fund our schools, none of the other theories of education actually work right. It's short-circuiting our kids' education today, short-circuits our economy tomorrow. So I think that will make a lot of parents happy, a lot of teachers happy, a lot of children happy. I think it may frustrate the 1%, for example, because the way that we're going to pay to return our community colleges to being tuition-free, as they were up through the end of segregation, is we are going to tax the 1% more. You know, somebody said to me, so community college will be free for everybody. Yes. They said, even for the rich kids. I said, yes. And they said, why? I said, well, in part it's because it'll make it stick better. You know, the way, really we come to a place where we need 13th and 14th grade to really make our economy work. So we're just going from 12th to 14th, like we once went from 8th to 12th. But the other reality is that the parents are going to be paying for it because you're going to tax the 1% more.
Well, it's interesting, right, on this proposal, the person who would be your opponent if you move through to be the Democratic nominee is also moving forward on a lot of education proposals, and specifically around community college. So it'll be interesting to see how, as you say, the dynamic and the movement of progressivism in the state actually changes the dynamic of the race as the Republican governor shifts his positions. Yeah. So
that's exactly right. And what I would say is that he just got cornered by a Democratic supermajority into signing a bill that will add $15 million a year to the community college budget and make it more affordable for some people. I'm seeking to add at least $200 million to make it tuition-free again for everybody. And if you wonder what Larry Hogan's second term might look like, in your case, you just got to look over the River at New Jersey, because he's running very much like Chris Christie did at the end of his first term, and shows every sign of being Chris Christie too.
Well, wow. I mean, Chris Christie one was a lot. I can't imagine another one. But thank you for joining us on a very sad and difficult day for you on the campaign trail and for your candidates. Again, our condolences to your candidate, but we continue to wish you and everyone else in your race all the best and much safety as you let the democratic process unfold and see where we are at the end of 2018.
Well, pleased to have us back. It is always nice to be able to talk to you.
Thank you so much. And again, be safe.
All right. Thanks, Mark.